Hello.
Hello and good morning, Sarah. How are you doing today?
I'm great. Thanks so much for having me on, Arrow.
No, I want to thank you so much for sharing this story because you are stepping into the world of nature where a lot of people don't have best friends or people that they love. And you're exposing these two people that really were in love with each other as well as the universe.
Yes, yeah, I had so much fun working with my team to make Fire of Love, where we did get to explore nature, through the story of these two wonderful characters, Katya and Maurice Kraft. It was really a joy.
And their love story was the 1970s and the 1980s. I love the fact that you're able to step back into those moments and share forward in the way that you have so much footage, and yet the story feels like it's happening right now.
Oh, that's great to hear. That was really important for us to kind of land the audience in the moment, to feel the heat, so to speak, of the volcanoes as much as possible through the footage that Katya and Marie shot themselves. But yeah, we wanted people to progress with them, to be with them along the ride for that journey, to feel the highs and the lows, the inspiration and the fear of what it's like to live in relationship to volcanoes, which is really how the Crafts live their lives.
Yeah, because don't you have to live one-on-one with that volcano? That volcano is like a best friend, or it can be an enemy, but you still have to be able to communicate with it so that you can understand it.
Yeah, that's a great way of putting it, and absolutely how Katya and Maurice understood volcanoes. They did their best to interpret, this sentient, vast, powerful force. They were in love with the mystery of volcanoes and just absolutely enthralled by how beautiful they were. But they also knew that they could be catastrophic, dangerous. They could take their lives in an instant. So they did their best to try to understand them, all the while knowing that they actually could never fully understand. That was something Maurice often said, that volcanoes are beyond human understanding. But it was that mystery that almost felt akin to the divine that really gave their life tremendous meaning.
So in the studying and things like that, and putting this story together, did they ever come across what happened at Mount St. Helens? Because you're right, that was a dangerous situation. Volcanoes cannot be trusted ever. And this was one of those moments where finally this nation outside of Hawaii woke up and said, oh my God, we've got volcanoes here.
Yes, yeah. Actually, one of my favorite scenes in the film is when they encounter Mount St. Helens. They were not there for the massive blast that everyone knows on May 18th, 1980, but they were there shortly after. And that moment it was a watershed moment, actually, in the field of volcanology, provided such this important example of what are known as gray or explosive volcanoes, of how to study them. They're so dangerous that they were really poorly understood and still continue to have just tons of questions about how they function, why they erupt, and how the eruptions are triggered. But Katya and Maurice, it really, Mount St. Helens and studying Mount St. Helens kind of caused them to redirect their lives to study exactly those kinds of volcanoes that, in their words, they called killer volcanoes. So it's a turning point in their life, so to speak. They grew even more in love.
The documentary we're talking about is Fire of Love, which is from National Geographic, and it's on Disney+. To be in this moment, it's one of those things where it's like, it's almost like they were speaking to the future. And what I mean by that is, it's like when I daily write, I'll always say, dear future reader. It's not for this moment of now, but it's for the future. And here you are with it.
I really love that question. I do feel like they were recording their imagery to teach people about geosciences, to educate governments about how to evacuate and create warning systems. But we always thought that maybe they were leaving almost instructions behind on how to tell a story using their footage about life and philosophy, about creation and destruction. We also think too that there are some echoes between kind of some of their advocacy work of trying to get governments to listen to scientists and those who live in relationship with the earth to implement these plans sooner. And we're certainly living in an age where scientists sometimes or very often are not listened to, and there's devastating consequences for that. So we'd like to think that there's a story that, was taking place at that time in the 80s for them, but absolutely resonates through today.
From one creative person to another here, what do you see that most don't, and yet you continue to step through to share it with those that didn't see it, but now they do? That's a pretty different question, isn't it?
Oh wow, that's quite a deep question. I'll have to think about that one for a long time. But I've got to say that the people in the films I tend to make have kind of a unique connection with nature, and for me are seers of sorts. Feel like they understand the interconnectivity of humans and non-human nature and find powerful ways to communicate that. And I'm so inspired by people who do that. That's for me something kind of the landscape of the films I hope to always make, and I hope that my films can kind of provide a different way of seeing the world. In this case, it's seeing volcanoes as sentient, as alive, as forces of creation and destruction and creation all again. And some of my other work is about seeing life force in a rock that might seem inert, or understanding the connections of the forest underground through mushroom hunts. So those kinds of things, I feel like can kind of draw important relationships and make certain things visible that you might not readily see.
Oh, you're speaking my street. Oh, my God. When you're talking about going underground and stuff, because I've always believed and studied that the best part of the tree is what's underground. And if people truly were to go back and look at the mission of mushrooms and stuff like that, they are such a vital part of a forest floor.
Oh, absolutely. I'm endlessly fascinated by mycelia, by mycological relationships. I think we can learn volumes about fungi and mushrooms.
Oh, man, and this is why people need to go to the website and find out more about you, because it's almost like, you feel it from the universe. It moves through you. We become better educated because you took that chance.
Oh, well, thank you. That's very kind words. I feel really grateful to work with my phenomenal team and to get to bring out the story of Katya and Maurice Kraft. And they used to actually travel the world 30, 40 years ago, showing their images of volcanoes to people globally. And so the fact that the film now is on Disney Plus and is going to be accessed around the world again, it makes me really happy that people will, get to see their imagery, all that they loved and all that they sacrificed to engage with people, to teach them about volcanoes.
Well, I can't thank you enough for dedicating your life to this project and for sharing it with the rest of the world, because once again, we will learn.
Oh, well, thank you so much. This was a really fun conversation. Thanks for having me on.
Please come back anytime. The door's always going to be open for you.
Oh, great. Thanks so much, Arrow.